Hey everyone, it's Pyro7 here, and today is going to be quite a different video. This one serves as a prequel to my 500 sub special, of which, by the way, that's still coming, still in the works, don't worry. But like I said, serves as a prequel where today I'll be reviewing or ranking every museum that I've been to, specifically the fossil displays of said museums. Pretty self-explanatory, all things considered. I'll be ranking these displays on three different criteria: the animal selection, the exhibit layout, and the fossil displays themselves. So, that's all pretty simple, and so let's get into this. This should be short, there's only like 8 or 9 entries. The Mississippi Science Center Museum thing down in Mississippi, I don't know, it's been 4 years since I went, when I lived in Louisiana. So it gets like C or B tier. I'd have to go back to really refresh my memory, but based on pictures that I've seen, it's the fossil aspect of it is not really the place's main thing. That said, they have some nice additions. There's a Smilodon skeleton, a whale rib, hadrosaur leg, a mosasaur skull, protostega skeleton, albertosaurus skull, Basilosaurus skeleton, shark teeth. So yeah, overall pretty nice. Like high C tier, low B tier, I guess works. Indianapolis Children's Museum gets an A tier from me. Immediately off the bat, there's dinosaurs, Alamosaurus, coming out of the building. So that's cool. I haven't seen that anywhere else. Skeleton-wise, they have, at the very start, they've got 2 undescribed. Maybe it's unidentified, I'm not too sure, I don't remember that. Diplodocids, they're all big and nice. They've got Sarcosuchus imperator. You can never go wrong with Sarcosuchus imperator. Of course, dinosaurs in the main dinosphere section of the exhibit is pretty nice. They don't have a whole lot, but what they do have is nice. Hypacrosaurus, a hadrosaur, never really seen it anywhere else. I don't think it's represented by much, if anything, so Hypacrosaurus is nice to see. They have a Triceratops Tyrannosaurus skeleton set up in like a little fight or combat scenario with 2 T-Rexes, actually, so pretty cool. Don't usually see 2 T-Rexes at a museum. There's a Gorgosaurus skeleton, posed to be feeding on a Maiasaura, with 2 little Bambi raptors beside it, or in the same area. And the aquatic section is nice too. I like their Elasmosaurus skeleton. They also have an Archelon. They have a large Ichthyosaur that I hadn't heard of until I went here, Baptanodon. Everything else is all really nice. But this place gets 2 additional points for me because they have my second favorite mosasaur, Plioplatycarpus. And just because of that, they get 2 additional points. The Boonshoft Museum of Discovery is up next, and it gets a B tier. This one's another smaller museum. This place is actually more like a children's museum than anything else. Their fossil displays are nice. On the bottom floor, or the main floor, they have Ice Age creatures. And that's just like the generic giant sloth, giant beaver, giant bear, Smilodon, direwolf, that stuff. It's all nice. On the second floor, they do have more fossils. The video I'm showing, all of this video footage is my own. And so this is from 2023. They have since reorganized their fossil display. I just haven't gone back to see it yet. So they don't have a whole lot of fossils, but what they do have is nice. They've got 4 different mosasaurs, and the rest of their aquatic selection is mostly ammonites, but that's fairly nice as anyway. They do have not really a whole lot else, but I'm honestly okay with that. Like earlier there was Protoceratops eggs, they had a Toxocheles skeleton, Diplodocus limb bones. Arguably the biggest and coolest thing that they do have is an Edmontosaurus annectens skull with some skin impressions underneath it. But outside of that, and some Coelophysis models, this place doesn't have a whole lot of fossils, but I'm not shaming them for it. For a little children's styled museum, it's nice. Cleveland Natural History Museum, I think it's called, gets a B tier as well, and that's simply because I haven't gone back to see it all finished. I have gone twice now to do behind the scenes stuff, and I got to see them, or progress during the remodeling stage of their museum, and so everything I have picture-wise is based on before or like during the remodeling, but not behind the scenes. So like they do have a Haplocanthosaurus skeleton, Triceratops, Diabloceratops, Dunkleostes, Nanotyrannus, Dirosaurus. So that's all cool and all, but hard to form an opinion based on anything else since I haven't seen the rest of the museum properly yet. So right now it gets a B tier. Great Lakes Science Center, specifically the Dinosaurs of the Sahara exhibit, gets an A tier from me. This was Paul Serrano's African dinosaurs that he's worked on personally. Overall, is really nice. I especially liked some of the Afrovenator skeleton and the Suchomimus skeleton. Absolutely amazed at how large Suchomimus actually is and how small Nigersaurus is compared to it. But overall, this was a very nice exhibit, I will say. Mildly disappointed I didn't see Deltadromeus, but everything else works fine enough. Fine with everything else. The Cincinnati Museum Center is up next, and this place, I'm putting an S. Putting this in S tier. This is a really nice museum. Their fossil displays is really good, especially their dinosaur displays. I really cannot glaze the dinosaur display enough. Even if I have been 5 times between last year and this year, and went actually really recently, it's still really cool. It's the only place in the world with a mounted Galeomopus and Torvosaurus skeleton, so that's always super cool. And everything else about the museum overall is nice as well. The Paleozoic section is pretty nice. Admittedly, the museum goes backwards, or doesn't. Actually, before I get to that, there is the Fossil Lab, which I think's really cool. When I went this time around, I did recognize some of the stuff that the museum center was digging for in Montana this year. But the Paleozoic section is after the Mesozoic section, so like the flow of the museum's kind of wonky, since we go from the Mesozoic to the Paleozoic to the Cenozoic. That's out of order geologically, but the Paleozoic and the Cenozoic displays are admittedly really nice, especially since the Cenozoic display actually has like a life-size model walkthrough after the whole skeleton section or the fossil section, so that's pretty neat as well. Haven't seen that before from the museum. The St. Louis Science Center I am I'm placing next, since that's right. Oh, all of these are listed as to how the order that I've appeared or gotten to them. And this place gets a B tier. Like the Boonshoft Museum of the Mississippi Science Center, it's somewhat obvious based on the lower amount of fossils that fossils are not the main thing that they're trying to focus on, and that's fine. The selection that they do have is pretty nice, and I must admit the Carboniferous diorama section is super nice with a life-size Meganeura and Arthropleura and Eriops. I'm not sure how to pronounce that amphibian's name, but I will say that the main highlight of this particular fossil exhibit area would have to be the particularly large animatronic Tyrannosaurus Rex, which comes from a now defunct company. I forgot what they're called. I'll put the text here. Don't know how I forgot that, but overall, this place gets a B tier in terms of their fossils. They're fine, but they're not the absolute best I've seen. Not hating on them, I'm just pointing out. Field Museum is next, and this once again gets an S tier. Immediately in the entry level, I would not give it an S tier, even if they do have a Spinosaurus skeleton and a Patagotitan skeleton. Both are super cool, all things considered. But it's the rest of the fossil display that I really like. I enjoy how the Field Museum has their fossils set up in geological order. We start off in the Precambrian, when there was absolutely nothing, and then you eventually walk through the rest of Earth's history, following along life's evolution from basic ocean creature invertebrates to more complex animals. I really appreciate the way that they did that. The Permian section, I will say I don't like the layout. I will be giving the Field Museum just 2 or 3 minus points simply because the Permian display is not very well set up. But everything else is perfectly fine with it. They have a bunch of really nice dinosaur skeletons with Cryolophosaurus, holotype, They've got cool Madagascan specimens such as Zymosuchus and Mahajangasuchus and Machikosaurus, Majungasaurus. And then there's Sue. As if Sobek the Spinosaurus wasn't enough, we got Sue the T-Rex. And oh, it looks so cool. Like both the skull and the actual mounted skeleton. Just so peak. So amazing. Loved Field Museum for that. And then the Cenozoic stuff, admittedly, I didn't get as much video footage of simply because, in my opinion, the Cenozoic era is not quite as cool. Mine is for the reptiles. I still like the big reptiles, but I'm not really huge into mammals. But even still, they did have a really nice Cenozoic selection, so they remain in S tier, in my honest opinion. And Dinosaur Ridge is the last place that I've been to. I actually went here way back in, like, I don't know, 2011, 2012, when I lived in Colorado. And this place is honestly just as cool as I remember it. The, like, little inside fossil area, admittedly, is not the best. It's really small. Their sea creature display is really about as basic as you can get. Not a bad way, but, like, they've got ammonites and shells and some fish and an elasmosaurus skull. So, like, all the simple ocean creatures. There is admittedly a huge cast of Marapumisaurus' only known fossil that was lost, but that's a whole different topic. And overall, as small and, like, not particularly unique as the fossil area is, it's fine enough, and in my opinion, makes up for in the actual, like, ridge part of the walkthrough, where they have there are little pieces of dinosaur bones sticking out of the rock, and there's a bunch of different signs explaining all sorts of different cool things. Like here, dinosaur claw marks scratched in the ground, possibly during a courtship display. That's cool. And my personal favorite part is where I have the best memories of it from way back when, is this dinosaur trackway wall with just a bunch of different trackways from an ornithomimid and hadrosaur and a crocodilian of some form just in the wall, which at the time during the early Cretaceous would have been a shallow beachy environment. All super cool. And so Dinosaur Ridge gets an A tier. Yeah, that was my tier list. What'd you think of it? This was kind of a little bit shorter than I was anticipating, all things considered, so I might do some little bonuses here and there real quick. Only free bonuses. But what'd you think of it? Actually, what did you think of it? Overall, go ahead. Have you been to any of the places that I've listed? If so, what was your thought of it? And how would you contend or contest my ranking? And now, as bonuses that were not part of the original ranking, but I added them here anyway, the Sinclair Community College, I took a tour of it at one point earlier this year, and they have a cool fossil display. They've got a bunch of different stuff. Overall, they have a bunch of small stuff. I kind of skimmed through my pictures, so they get a B tier for now. I might push it up to A, but right now they get a B tier. Billings Productions, admittedly, does not, they're an animatronic dinosaur company, so they don't really primarily focus on fossils, but the selection that they did have is fair enough. I give it an A. Could be a lot worse, but for the small size of the collection itself, it's not terrible, especially given the fact that, like I said earlier, they are an animatronic dinosaur factory, so their fossils are not their primary focus. And then my own collection. Of course, I'm not like a museum, but hey, the other two weren't either. And so I'm giving my own collection a B tier. It's nothing terrible. I do have a good amount of animal variety, but most of it is fish and sharks. Well, I guess sharks are fish. So, like, most of it is shark teeth, and, well, that's fine. That's fine at all. But while I have a lot of variety, I don't have a lot of fossils, if that makes complete sense, given my collection is mostly, anyway, situated on these two shelves. So it gets a B tier. But I'm okay with that for now. Barbecue chicken alert! Barbecue chicken alert!
So when this video was all nice and uploaded and everything, I had actually remembered another location that I forgot to bring up. So here it is. And also, I had actually recently gone somewhere else, so I've also added it to the list. Further, I'm in a different room, so audio may sound a little different, and my allergies are back, so I might sound a little different as well. Herd Museum, I will give an A tier. I went here the day after going to the Billings Productions facility, actually after same day, but after going to the Dallas World Aquarium. And overall, the place itself is nice, pretty nice, but the fossil display is rather small, all things considered. But even still, it gets an A tier. They had some mammoth teeth, maybe they're mastodon teeth, maybe they're both showing the difference. I don't remember. Ammonites, Tylosaurus skulls, one of which includes some Squalicorax falcatus teeth, which is pretty interesting, and a Trinachromarum skeleton, a polycotylid plesiosaur. I thought it was Dolichoryncops, but hey, that guy's related. So I was pretty close. A tier for the Herd Museum. And second place is Paul Sereno's Fossil Lab. This gets an S tier from me. A very worthy sequel to the Dinosaurs of the Sahara Great Lakes Science Center, and both times I've gone to the Field Museum. Very worthy. It was very enjoyable. Both the highlights of Sereno's discoveries, such as Raptorex caprosuchus, Rahasaurus, and the actual fossils that we got to see during his presentation, including T-Rex arm, Edmontosaurus annectens, mummy, so you got to see its skin, which is really cool, or scales, which is really cool, Sarcosuchus imperator, both skull and scutes, Suchomimus, well, like hip area, but still very cool. And yeah, the Fossil Lab gets an easy S tier from me. Anyway, back to my original outro.
Anyway, so yeah, what'd you think of this? Do you agree with my rankings? Even the bonus ones? And further, like I said, have you been to these places and would you contest them in any way? Hope you enjoyed this, and well, this was honestly a huge pain to edit, so the animatronic ranking might be a two-parter. I don't know. I've been to that many. But overall, yeah, that was this, like I've said already, and I'll be seeing you again next time.